My name is Miss Lizzie. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditties. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys. Miss Liz back in the house, and I have an incredible guest in the house. I have Alison McBain, and we're going to be talking about her books, and we're going to talk about AI, authors, all of that good stuff. But we're going to talk about her new book called The New Empired. New Empired, I think. And am I missing a word? Alison will get that up there for all of you guys. But before we get started, we're going to get everybody over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of those cool platforms that you all know about. Give that a quick subscribe, follow, and share, because all of these tea times do make a difference, one cup at a time. We do not serve a beverage. So today's tea that we are serving is creation, encouragement, and inspiration. And we're going to be talking about those three words, and we're going to be talking about a lot of other stuff as well. Some fun facts. So let's get started with disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicated to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I, Miss Liz, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guest viewers and participants are responsible for using their own judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Now let me give you a little bit of, today I'm honored to pour a cup with Alison McBain, an award-winning author, editor, and artist who creative world dances between reality and imagination. Alison is known for her insight stories that explore identity, empathy, and what it truly means to be human in an ever-changing digital age. Her latest work, Authors versus AI, Creativity, Speed, and the Human Heart of Storytelling, challenges us to think about where creativity begins and how technology can never replace the soul behind a story. So brew your tea, take a deep breath, and join us for a heartfelt conversation about art, authorship, and the courage to stay human in a world of machines. And let me get Alison in here and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Alison.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's an honor to have you, Alison. So let's get into it right away. Who was Alison as a little girl and who is Alison now?
There's still a bit of that little girl inside of me because from when I was very small, as soon as I started to read and write, I knew I wanted to be a writer. And so I carry her with me into today. Yeah, but I've always been creative. I've always wanted to inspire a new generation with my words, and it's wonderful to finally be living the dream.
So, Allison, how old were you when you started your writing career?
My career was about 10 years ago or so, but I did start writing stories when I was 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you
it's
want to
been a
share a little
lifelong
bit?
thing. Yeah, my first story was actually, and maybe I was just a messed up, twisted little kid, but my first story was a horror story. And I was 4, and I don't remember it all, but it's part of the family lore. I wrote a horror story about the monster in the closet.
We all know about that famous monster in the closet, right? Or the monster under the
Exactly.
bed.
Exactly. But now I love all genres. I love all storytelling, both as a writer and also as an editor. I love to help other people get their stories out there.
So, Allison, I want to get the first question out to you. What inspired you to explore the intersection of human creativity and artificial intelligence?
Well, it was something that was starting to come up, and this was a couple years ago that I conceived of my project. And mostly it was through conversations. So this was right about when the writer's strike in Hollywood was happening. And a lot of people were talking about it. And, of course, people are still talking about AI and creativity. Um, so it made me wonder, like what is AI? What does it have to do with creativity? Is it going to A question I heard a lot was, is it going to take over for writers? Should we just quit? Should we just stop writing our stories and just let AI do it for us? And I wanted to conceive of a project that showed that human creativity was still paramount, was still what we're looking for as readers, as authors. You can't take out the human aspect of creativity and really still enjoy what is produced.
Well, it takes away the authenticity, right?
Yes, definitely.
So let's talk about the word authenticity and authentic storytelling because we had a lot of questions that came in about that for you today.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, authentic storytelling to me is just telling your own story from a sort of, your own biased point of view, right? We all have unique stories, and part of what makes our stories unique is that it's from our own individual perspective. And this is something that AI can't do because AI basically takes everybody's stories all over the place and sort of generalizes it and is like, oh, well, 50% of people had this experience, so I can write that down, as a human experience. But I find that a lot of what people connect to is something that is different, something that calls to them because maybe it's a unique experience. Maybe it's, a loss that someone has gone through, or a chronic illness, or, or welcoming someone to your family. It's all unique in the way that each person sees it, even if it's a shared and common experience.
I like what you said, unique experiences and perspectives, because
Mhm.
we all have a different perspective, right? Like the 6 and the 9. Neither one of us is right or wrong, right? It's the way we see things and how we interpret things. So your writing journey, and I'm guessing that you really hunted down AI and kind of gave it a workout to understand that it doesn't have that authentic feel to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So for my author versus AI project, I didn't use any AI, but like anyone who's out there, being curious about it, yeah, I have seen the results of AI. I also run a magazine, and we have seen AI submissions come in, even though we specifically request no AI submissions. And it starts to get pretty easy to tell, especially when you've seen it over and over again. It doesn't have that very unique, very strong, clear authorship to it. It feels very polished, very sort of generic. It's good for some things, AI. I'm sure a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of writers say they use it for the stuff where they don't need their unique voice, where like they are doing marketing, for example, it can produce a very polished, ad for marketing. So it can be useful in that way. And, in other fields like medicine, it has definitely helped with diagnoses of illnesses that have eluded doctors. So it does have both pros and cons to it. But when it comes to creativity, it's still falling way short what people can produce.
Oh, I've used the AI, and I also put my special touch on it because I feel like there's no connection. So
Yep,
when I read it, it's like you said, right? It's so polished and it's so like black and white, and I'm just like, where's the color? Like,
exactly.
can we get some color in here? Like, can you add a little bit of fun in here? It's like da 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 da. Where do we get the cheers and the encouragement? That's what I find when I'm using the AI. So I always like to twist it up, and I find that it's like a second husband. Like I said before we went live, right? It's like, who's worse, the AI or the second husband? And but I want to get, because we talked about colors, I want to talk about the color yellow, because that's your favorite color. So let's talk about yellow and why it's not in the front row. It's in the back row all the time. So let's talk about yellow.
Yellow is such a happy color. It is, we're talking earlier about how, there are a lot of other colors that people gravitate towards, like purples and blues, sort of like the shy, like darker colors. But yellow is bold, and it really, I don't know, it puts itself out there, and I like to think that it can be motivating also. I love to have, like, as you can see behind me, my office is yellow. And so like when I come into my office every day, I'm like energized. It is such a wonderful, wonderful thing to surround yourself with. And I think it sort of reflects the idea of optimism. So if you're going to, like, assign a color to a word, I would say yellow is optimism.
Oh, I like it. See, and we get more words. That's how Miss Liz works. I like getting words out of my guests. Uh, and I like how we explain colors and how colors make us feel, because I would have never thought of yellow as energetic, energizing and motivating. But as you said it, I was just like, oh yeah, it is. And bold. I wonder if that's why people stay away from the yellow, because it's so bold, right? It's so passion, like it's there. And I love the color of your wall. Is it a certain type of yellow that's in your room?
I don't remember the name of it, but I just got the brightest, because this office, when we moved here 3 years ago, it was white. So I was like, nope, I'm going to change that. So I just got the brightest yellow that I could think of, sort of like daisies or daffodils, and I just splashed it everywhere I could.
It just reminds me of lemons.
Oh
Like
yeah, lemons. Yeah.
like a good squeeze, and that sour walk into the room, and like I really like it. I it stands out. I noticed in the background here, as I'm looking for my audio listeners, I'm looking at a poster that she has on the back here with the authors versus AI. That is your logo, correct, Alison?
Yes, for my project, it was a logo I put together.
So how did you come together for that logo?
Well, I really wanted the idea because AI was such a looming presence. And I wanted, like a big robot that was like battling like a little, a woman who is much smaller, which would be me, and against this giant, sort of like a David and Goliath type of
Oh,
fight. Because again, and AI started out sort of small and like, oh, what is this? All of us were wondering, and now it is omnipresent. Like you pull up Google and it's in your search. You go to any sort of program you use, like especially for writers, something like Grammarly, or there are some other programs that you can use for editing your work, and it's there. Like, so it went from this sort of shadow on the horizon to suddenly being in every aspect of life. So it really is much larger than each individual one of us, but that also makes it a very big target, I would say, for us to see, and when we need to avoid it and have our own voice instead of its.
Absolutely. And it is everywhere, because I even have a couple of guests that are coming in the future with AI programs and stuff like that. And for me, it's scary, but it's also intriguing. Is that how it feels for you, Alison?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how it can help us. And I think this is one thing that is lost in the conversation a lot about AI. There's a lot of talk about AI replacing people and replacing jobs and taking over for industries. But I feel like it's more a tool. It's a tool that people can use. Like, it won't necessarily replace people, but it can be helpful. Like, think of all the other technological advancements that we've had, even in my lifetime. Everything from cell phones to computers to they've all helped us. They've helped us communicate. They've helped us get more information, have more information at our fingertips. They've changed the way that we become informed about news that's going on in the world, or even connections. Like right now, we're on a call. We're living in completely separate areas, but we can talk in real time. So each of these steps have been helpful. There have been drawbacks, though. You think of the dot-com bust. I don't know if you remember that, but tons of people were out of work because people are so optimistic that they overinvested and over-relied on what it would mean to us in the future, and it wasn't there yet. So that, to me, is one of the biggest worries about AI, where there's a lot of very wonderful and practical applications that it's going to have. I think people are right now overestimating what it is capable of right now. And I think that will probably have some fallout in the near future before it stabilizes and becomes something wonderful and helpful that we can use.
We had a question that came in, and it says, how do you think AI has changed the landscape for writers and readers alike?
Well, it has definitely changed the landscape for writers. There is a number of, for example, lawsuits going on right now against AI companies because their work has been taken and used to produce these large language models. So it is, in that way, a threat to writers in terms of compensation. Can their work be used by anyone? Can it be reproduced by anyone? So until that's sorted, I think that there's still going to be this looming threat of AI over the writer landscape. For readers, again, there's a lot of writing that is being produced right now through AI, especially for things like nonfiction articles, small snippets online. So you'll see more of that. It's called AI slop. Which sort of gives you the idea that people are just throwing this stuff out there and it's not inherently valuable, right? So it has caused more content to be around that's not human produced. So it is making more work for readers, I think, to sort of filter through that and find what they really want to find. So again, all of these are about balance. We have to find a balance. AI is everywhere. It won't be, eventually in the future. It's going to be used, I hope, for certain key tasks, certain key industries.
Well, Alison, I want to take us away from the AI and I want to bring in your book. So I'm going to pull up your book if you want to talk about your book and that, and the storyline, the characters, and the cover. For all my audio listeners, kind of describe what the cover looks like. And then they can always check out the video if they really want to see the cover, or go out and grab a copy. So I'm going to pull that book up and let's talk about that book for a bit.
Yeah, so I'll start out with the cover. This is one that I actually designed. The book actually came about through a pitch contest. And it was a fabulous pitch contest. And I spent, a week in Vermont pitching my book to industry experts and getting their feedback and refining my pitch. So part of it was, you would help conceive of the design of your cover. So my book cover has a boy who looks sort of dejected, sort of sad a bit. and he is surrounded by this very bold black dragon eating its tail. And that ties directly into my story, because the main character, Jianxi, he comes over from China when he's young, and he is a descendant of the emperor there. And the symbol for the Chinese emperor is a dragon. So I love putting those elements into the look and feel of my book. So it's an alternate history, and it reimagines what could have happened if one moment in time in our past has changed. And that moment is that before Europeans came over to the Americas, the Chinese did. And so they formed alliances with the indigenous populations, and it changed the course of history in my book. So then the indigenous populations form this new empire, and they become a world player. They become a very strong superpower on an equal footing with others at the time that the book takes place in the 1700s.
Wow. See, I didn't get that at all from the book. Like, I thought it was like a story of a boy getting his strength from a dragon. And that's what I mean, like the different perspectives when you see cover, right? But you did mention, I'm going to pull this off. You did mention about the books. I found something about you here. Awards for book cover designs. And you have created some amazing book designs. If people go to your website, they can see that as well, Alison. So what got you into the book designs?
My motto is do something creative every day, and it's something that I like to live by, because honestly, not every day do I feel like writing. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, you have to write every day if you want to be." No, I like to do something creative, and I have kids, so it's not always something that I'm going to be putting out there for sale or a service or something. So I feel like baking cookies is creative, right? Eating them less so, but baking them, yes, is a lot of fun, and it sort of exercises that same sort of mental muscle. So design is like that. So like when, I edit for clients, I edit for authors, but I also like to help them see their visions come to life. So part of that is design. And I've done it for my own books, and also for a number of clients. I just love it when they look at a cover and they're like, yes, this is it. This is what I want to see.
Yeah, I was mind blown by some of the covers that you've created. I was like, whoa, that is cool. I wonder what the story is behind those covers, because the time and passion that you put into those covers, some of them were like, wow. I'm going to get you to give out your website in the middle of tea time, because I like to do this sometimes to my listeners. Can you share your website out to the listeners right now? And we're going to get it out at the end of the show as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's AlisonMcBain.com. And I always like to emphasize it's Alison with one L. If you do two L's, you probably won't find me. But if you just Google me, it will usually pop up my website too. So if you don't remember, oh, wait a second, what's her full name? Was her middle name? Yeah, you can just look me up by Googling me too.
Well, Alison, I want to take you on a journey, because you just had this experience with CBC Manitoba. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, it was lovely. So I've been on a couple CBC programs, and it was very wonderful to talk to Faith Fundell on Up to Speed about my project, and sort of about like what my goal is with this project, which is not just, hey, I want to write a lot of books and get them out there, which is lovely, but also to share the inspiration that authors shouldn't be defeated by AI, just like everyone shouldn't be. It's a wonderful tool that can help people, but it should not, in my opinion, it should not be in creative writing. So people should still share their authentic voice and be comfortable doing so, and readers will still enjoy finding it too.
So I'm going to give you an option: podcasting, in person, or radio. What do you prefer?
I will have to say definitely in person. I love to see people face to face, and I love the name of your podcast, Teatime, because it just envisions to me, sitting down over a cup of tea and having a good gab, so I love that idea, and just the whole concept of what you offer your guests and your listeners. But yes, in person, I always like to have a good cup of tea with someone.
Well, and that's the whole concept behind Tea Time, right? Is I was given this cup at the age of 4 with my grandma, and we had a good conversation. She threw some words at me, and then she's like, "Okay, tea time. Now get out there and do your job."
As grandmas do.
Right? Well, for the longest time, I kept hearing tea time, tea time. And I was like, I don't want to have a cup of tea. Like, what is going on? And then it wasn't about the tea itself. It was about the conversations. Get out there and get to know people and have those open conversations and learn from each other. You know, I learn all the time from my guests. Like Alison, I learned so much from you just in the last 25 minutes of talking, you know, looking at colors differently and AI differently. And I didn't know about AI slop. So I'm going to be checking that AI slop out. That's what I do. I just go on a big nerd thing and go and seek. But no, I wanted to really get it out there because in person is completely different than podcasting, right? It's a virtual world and that. And then radio, there's no screen, it's just audio. So, you know, there's 3 different perspectives. And that's what we talked about right at the beginning of the show was perspectives of how we see things, right? How we see the AI, how we see writers. And I'm like you, I don't want to write every day. I'm a writer and I don't want to write every day. I want to make pretty pictures and do stuff too. I want to get into your poems because I found that too. You have a poem called Morning Ritual, Best of the Net from the Wild Umbrella. So I'm guessing the Wild Umbrella is the company or publishing?
Yep. The Wild Umbrella is a fabulous, very small publication out of Ireland.
Oh,
And I would definitely, any writers who are looking for homes for their poems, I would definitely, look them up. But they are fabulous. All their staff are fabulous. But they nominated my poem for Best of the Net. And I was so thrilled recently to find out that it was a finalist for Best of the Net, which I had never conceived of, this small poem I wrote, making it all the way there out of thousands of submissions. So I'm so thrilled. And that, again, the Wild Umbrella is an amazing publication run by an amazing team.
I always like getting that information out there, right? Through my guests, like all these cool little places. Like I didn't realize it was in Ireland. I didn't dig enough. So I want to get into a couple of other questions that came in for AI. Then we're going to go back into the book a little bit more again, how people can get it and when it came out, how long it took to write. Let's get all of that good stuff out there about the book. And then we'll get back into the AI questions because I really want to focus on this book because this is your latest book.
The New Empire, yes.
Yeah, we're bouncing like all over, right? We got colors, we got new poems, we got this, and Miss Liz is all over. I do that. I take you guys down rabbit holes to see if you guys are paying attention. So if you would like to share a little bit more on how long it took you to write the book and what started the story.
Well, it started out with an article I read. So especially for anyone who's looking to get into writing, I would say the best practice is just read endlessly, because that is where you will find all your ideas. And that is where you will get a lot of the material that you can use in your own writing. So I came across this article and it must have been like 10 years ago, that said that there was some archaeological evidence showing that around the time period where I said in my book, the Chinese Empire might have sent ships to South America. And so that sort of got the juices flowing. I was like, well, what if they had, traveled up and down the coast? What if they had stopped? What if they had actually established permanent trading ties with how would that have changed history? Because at the time, China was the superpower. It was way more advanced than Europe or Africa. It was way advanced. And so it really could have changed history if they had just stayed or established more permanent trading ties. So that's pretty much where the idea germinated. But then I took it, in a whole new direction from there.
I love it. See, all those different twists and turns. I love it. That's what I love about, writing and creating. How long did it take you to write the book, Alison?
Well, I wrote it with a bit of pause in the middle. So it started out actually, have you heard of NaNoWriMo?
No.
Okay, so it's over now, but NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. And it ran for 25 years. And people all over the world joined in. It started out very small, just a group of friends saying, hey, we're going to write, 50,000 words in a month. And then it just snowballed because everyone was like, well, I wonder if I can do this. So I think at the end, there were like hundreds of thousands of people who were doing this around the world. And the month was November. And so when I was, starting out, I had all of these ideas. I was like, well, you know what? I just need to sit down and write. So this concept started out with the first 50,000 words of the book written in one of these National Novel Writing Month, sort of competitions. And then I set it aside, as one does. But then I heard about the contest, the competition, that I eventually went on to take place in. And, as I was pitching several books, I sent in several submissions to the contest administrator, and he was like, this is a winner. This is a great book. And I was like, but it's not finished yet. And he's like, well, finish it. The competition starts in a couple of months. So I did. So I had I think a month, maybe a little bit longer than that, to finish it and edit it and send it into the judges. So I did. And that sort of started. I was like, well, if I could write the first half in a month, I think I can do the second half in a month. So, but there was a big break of years in between that. So technically I wrote it in a couple months, but literally it was several years. But it was, I was so happy that this, competition came along to light a fire under my butt, pretty much, to finish this book that I love so much.
And I want to get that out to my listeners, right? An incredible book sometimes takes years, and then it comes out and it's like all the years make up for that time when that book comes out. When people really see, oh, wow, it took you that long, but it's a good book. It's not rushed. It's not hurried. Well, you got hurried a little bit because, but the concept of the book took years to write. And and I like when it takes time to write stuff, because sometimes you need that pause in between writing to get that juice going again. And thanks for bringing awareness to that again. I did know about that, and I totally forgot about that. That's in November every year, correct? That contest?
It was. So it shut down actually at the end of last year. So it did finish its run. But there are a number of other competitions that are sort of taking up the reins because it was so popular. So I think Readsy, I think, is doing one, Readsy.com. They have a lot of writing competitions, but they're like, okay, well, we're going to step in and we'll, for all of you November writers, come on over to Readsy and we'll give you a home for November. But one part that was so lovely about it was just the camaraderie and just the feeling of writing with so many other people. It was so wonderful to be like, okay, there's so much creativity going on in November. It is amazing, really.
So, and getting to know these different writers as well, right? Bringing all the writers together and seeing the different creativity and storylines that are out there, and you'll be like, I would have never thought of doing that.
Exactly.
Having that conversation back and forth, right? Getting different perspectives and different opinions also helps, and feedback as well. Have you gotten any feedback on the cover of the book?
On the cover, it did win an award for the cover, and the book itself did win several awards too, which I'm so thrilled by, because you never know. Like, every book you produce, you love it. It's your baby, right? Like, you've spent so much time with it, and the characters, they feel like family almost. So when you let it go out into the world, you're like, oh no, how is it going to do? Am I delusional? Am I the only one who will really like this story? So it's awesome to get that feedback, to have readers be like, I could not put this book down. It's wonderful that, others can see the vision that you had from the very beginning.
So, Alison, I found that you wrote books called The Nice Guy, The Rose Queen, and The Rose War, or are those only book covers?
Oh, some of those are book covers of books to come. But I did write a romance novel called The Impossible Guy, and the sequel is supposed to be The Nice Guy. That's still in progress. But I do find romance is a lot of fun. So, like, as you can probably tell from my description, The New Empire is sort of a heavier subject book. It tackles with a lot of issues, including slavery and freedom, and what individual identity means. But to me, I sort of, after I do something heavy, like with a lot of, heavy themes like that, I like something light, a palate cleanser, so to speak. So I like to go over to romance. Like, everyone loves a good love story, right?
Yeah.
So I, in between, then after I finished that, I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? So I wrote a romance, and it was The Impossible Guy.
Again, go and check out her website because these covers are amazing. Like, I was just like, wow. You really put a
Thanks.
lot of good detail into these covers. Like, check them out. I want to get into toddler times. What is toddler times?
As you can probably tell, I prefer to laugh over crying. So I'm a parent, and when faced with certain situations with your kids, those are your two choices. You can laugh or you can cry. So I created toddler times because I'm like, oh man, I just have to get this out. I can't write a story about it, but maybe I can draw some pictures about it. So it's very much based on certain scenarios that happened while raising my kids. And so some of them are very directly pulled right from life.
I
So
think
it's a
those
cartoon,
toddler
it's a
times
webcomic.
we need, right? We need to start sharing them because, as parents, it is a stressful time. And it is, like you said, Allison, do we laugh or do we cry? Because sometimes it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, and I was surprised because I just started putting, I was like, well, I'm not a fabulous artist. Like, I'm okay. So like I started putting these out, and I put them online, and I was surprised at how many people like them, actually. So I was like, oh
There's a
wait,
lot of parents out there that need
I
toddler
know.
times.
Exactly. I'm not alone. And now a number of them are getting republished through the magazine Bewildering Stories. They just started. They're going to be republishing a number of them. So definitely check it out, Bewildering Stories magazine. So if you'd like to find them, they're all coming out there. If you want to laugh at your own toddler situation at home.
And some of those times it's like, shake your head. Did that really just happen?
Exactly.
I want to talk about anthologies. You've been in a couple of anthologies. Do you want to talk about that experience?
Yeah, it's so much fun to be a part of something bigger than yourself, I've also been editor for a number of anthologies, and it's wonderful seeing it all come together, like all these diverse perspectives and stories being put together in sort of a cohesive whole. But I love working with editors, and I love having them see the mistakes and sometimes the good things about my writing. But I actually had some fabulous experiences with editors, like one editor that I worked with remotely. I had never met her, Rhonda Parrish. Oh, sorry, I think I had an internet hiccup there.
Yeah,
So one of the
we get those, it's like toddlers, they get hiccups.
exactly. So one of the editors I worked with on an anthology, I had submitted a story, and she helped me, work with my story to get it published. Rhonda Parrish, and she had such insightful commentary. And then I moved to Alberta, and I actually got a chance to meet her, and now we're friends. And it's so fabulous to have that sort of full circle experience. And it's great to. Some people you never know. You can work with them and later on become really good friends with them.
I think that's cool. Like, you got to meet in person and you guys are friends now. Like, the
Yeah.
full circle, right? We don't talk about those full circles enough in life. Things happen and we meet people and connect with people for a reason. I'm a strong believer of that. I want to get into, you just celebrated your 17th anniversary.
No.
Oh, so that's old news.
That's old news.
Well, let's talk about that art because it's old news, but I found it really cool. You created these art pieces, you and your husband. So
Yeah, so this was something, again, it's part of my motto of do something creative every day. So one thing I used to do was, do different things. Like the theme of each anniversary could be cotton, for example, and then I would paint a picture. Or if the theme was like, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I think one was copper, and so like I created sort of this like sculpture. It was a
that's
sheep.
the one I seen. It was really nice.
which was fun to do, and it shows how much, like, I love personal gifts, and I love, especially when my kids, when my birthday rolls around, my kids will make something for me, or paint a picture, or again bake cookies. I'm always a sucker for cookies. So I love, like, I don't I think it takes much more dedication, I think, to put a little bit of yourself into a gift, and that's what I truly love. And so, like, I like to do that myself, and do that for gifts.
I like that every anniversary, right? There's a different thing, like you said, wool, cotton, copper. We don't celebrate those anniversaries very much, and we don't see that very much. When I seen that, I was like, that's cool. And the sculpture was cool. Like, I was just like, the rings, like the rings of the copper coming together. I really liked it. It was really nice. It was amazing sculpture piece. And again, you can catch that on Alison's website. So you know what I mean? I'm just pitching Alison's website all through this. Just go check out this girl. Like, there's so much on your site that people can find different parts of you and tell your story as well through all of the different elements on your site as well. So I really did enjoy checking your site out.
Thanks.
I want to get into what else do I have here? The magazines. We talk a little bit about the magazines because you've been in quite a few magazines. Talk about a few of them, Alison.
Sure. One thing I actually like to talk about is magazines that I'm working on behind the scenes. So I love I love being a part of something bigger, as I mentioned. So one of the things that I really love is actually putting others' work out into the world. So one of the magazines that I am the associate editor of is Scribes MICRO, and yeah, it's for very, very small pieces of fiction, creative nonfiction, and poetry. So about 100 words. So it's about a paragraph, if you think about it. It's not that long, but we have such amazingly creative people who submit, who really give us a snapshot into a larger story. And it takes a certain kind of talent. Like, and I've had a lot of writers say, I write books. How can I write a story in one paragraph? But it really helps you look at what parts of a story that people connect with. And we run a contest every year with cash prizes, and we're actually just about to announce the semifinalists for our contest for this
perfect
year.
tea time, right? Perfect timing.
Exactly. So that's going to be coming out before the end of the month. And I'm so excited because we had such beautiful stories that were told, some funny stories, but some very meaningful stories too. And every year I look forward to this contest and seeing what people can come up with. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing. And I'm so happy that we're going to be publishing 18 of the winners next month.
I am so glad that we're getting all this information out there for all my listeners, because I'm like, I never heard of that. I never heard of that. Never heard of that. And my listeners can say, Miss Liz, I had never heard of it either. So now you can all go and check it out. Then you can watch this Teatime on the replay and, and catch all this good information. That's what Teatime is all about, is getting the information out there that nobody knows about, because there's so much hidden gems in the world that we do not know about until we have guests like you, Alison, that get it out there for the listeners. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, thanks so much. I'm happy to talk about any of these projects. And again, part of what I love to do is help other writers, because it's a community. It really is. And when I was starting out, I got so much help from others, like where do I submit? How do I submit? You know, like just very basic, like, how do I fix this? This story is incomplete, you know? So like, for all of that, it's very much like a karma situation, I feel. So like, you know, when you're starting out, you get a lot of stuff. You get a lot of information, you get a lot of help. You have people saying, "Oh, I know, you know, you want to get in this magazine? I know the editor. Why don't we connect?" So like I had that happen to me, and it was so wonderful, and it really helped me, you know, not give up on my writing and keep on going. And so now I love to like turn about and say, you know, along my journey, I learned so much along the way, and now I'm happy to share it. And so I do workshops, I, you know, help with the magazine, and I go on talks and I go on podcasts and talk about it. So however we can spread the joy, right?
So do you have any cool workshops coming up, Alison, or events or anything like that that you'd like to get out there?
Mostly they're in person. So if you don't live in the Edmonton area,
You got to go to Edmonton. We got to get people over to Edmonton.
So I do have some coming up around the holidays. I'm actually doing a fair. It's a whole bunch of artists and authors and creators this upcoming Saturday in Edmonton. All the information's on my website, so you'll be able to see all of it there. But yeah, up until the holidays, I'll be doing some in-person things. Maybe in the new year, I'll probably be doing some online things so that I have a wider reach. You can connect with me there, but nothing is set in stone right now.
I love it. This girl connects the dots. Like, got to go there, got to go there, got to go there. You know, and I have a lot of listeners in Edmonton, so check out Alison's events that are coming up. Check out that website. I want to get out this question. What does legacy mean to you as a storyteller living through this technology evolution?
That's a complicated question. Legacy? Huh. I'm not exactly sure what it means. I feel like right now, as you said, we're going through a lot of changes, but I feel like one thing that I say to authors is holding true, even though I've been saying it for years now. We're really in a golden age of publishing. And what I mean by that is that there are more methods to get your stories, your words out than ever before. And even with something like AI, sort of the shadow on the horizon, maybe, you know, making people a bit concerned, it's still way more accessible than it was, say, 50 years ago or 100 years ago. And it's really open to people worldwide, when before there were, you know, a lot of hindrances for people to get their work out there. I mean, if you look at the old style of publishing, well, you'd have to send your stuff by post, first of all. Not online, not on email, not on a
Postcards.
Exactly. So you'd send your manuscript on post, and it was very expensive to print. So you'd send one, and then you'd wait, and then, you know, maybe you'd have a response, or maybe it'd get lost in the mail. Who knows? But then the number of people that were being published was much, much smaller also. So now it's really amazing to me that you can, you know, write a book, you can use tools online, you can have people help you from around the world, you know, via online platforms. You can upload your book, you can get it, you know, out online very easily, and then print books will be sent to people and to bookstores. Like, again, all of it you can do from the comfort of your home, pretty much. So again, I think that this is really the golden age of publishing. So while there's the idea of like, oh, you only have to do, there's only one way to do it, which is, you know, sort of legacy publishing. Now there's multiple ways. And I think it makes it much better to hear the smaller stories, the quieter stories, the people who would never have gotten their work into print. I'm thinking of all the Emily Dickinsons out there, you know, who now can put their work out there. And it's wonderful. We have this very rich and diverse group of writers who are completely accessible now.
I have a question for you. If you could co-write with any historical author, who would it be?
Oh, that is a great question. That's like asking to choose your favorite child. There's so many wonderful authors. Oh man. I think I would have to maybe go with Ray Bradbury.
Oh, why?
Yeah, ask me on a different day, my answer would probably be different, but he was the first name that sprang to mind, because I grew up on his stories. I'm actually although I write in all genres and read in all genres, I'm a third generation sort of science fiction fan. My dad and my grandfather were both huge science fiction fans, and so I grew up reading like all the classic science fiction. And Ray Bradbury, just his work is so amazing and it's withstood the test of time. Some of the, golden age of science fiction from 50, 100 years ago, it's a bit dated. But he was a concept person. And so his concepts, and he was also very socially aware. So his concept of what society could look like and sometimes did look like really got to the heart of the matter. So even if some of his science is dated, that isn't the heart of his story. So I would love to not just write something with him, but just have a good sit down with him. Again, over tea.
Have a cup of tea.
Have a talk.
If you could, have
actually,
your favorite... Go ahead, Alison.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was actually lucky enough when I was really, really young, like in my early 20s, before he passed, I got a chance to meet him. And so, yeah, it was like, I was like meeting a hero and I could not say anything. Like I went up, like I had him sign, I had his book. I know. I was like, I have so many questions for him and I couldn't say anything. I went up and got his book signed and said, I love you. You're awesome. And he's like, thanks. And that was it. And I, meanwhile in my head, I had so many, like I would have loved to ask him a million questions. I asked him nothing. So again, I would like a do-over.
Turn back time.
Exactly. I would like a do-over.
Alison, paper book or ebook? What do you prefer?
Oh, paper all the way. I am old
paper girl too.
Yeah.
So I got that one. One word to describe the future of storytelling.
Limitless.
Oh,
I would say.
why?
Yeah. Again, because there's each technological advancement allows more people to tell their stories, and some of it's not great. Like social media is a cesspit. Really, it's sort of a necessary evil for marketing, but there's so much terrible stuff on there too. But it does allow some people to get their stories out in new ways, new mediums. So I feel like each step we take allows us more ability to reach more readers, to reach people who might not have been readers. Like look at audiobooks. That was like a revelation in literature, because now people who wouldn't necessarily sit down and read a book, print or ebook, now they can listen to it on the go. They can be jogging, they can be going to work, they can, so it allowed so much more access to people to hear these wonderful stories. So again, I feel like each new step we take allows more people to have that type of storytelling in their life.
Well, audiobooks, what people don't realize as well is people who can't read, they can still hear. Mm-hmm. So they can still get the story. So it actually helps people who can't read actually enjoy a book as well.
Definitely.
So I want to get into cookies because you mentioned cookies quite a bit.
Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know.
Favorite cookie, and do you have a recipe? Can we find that on your site? Like, are you going to put out Alison cookies? Or?
I don't think you're right. So I like chocolate chip cookies. I'm very basic. Like that's like my go-to. Yeah, you can find fabulous chocolate chip cookie recipes everywhere. But one thing that I used to do with my kids, and this recipe and step-by-step pictures are on my website if you go further enough back in my blog, was, so we would always, for our kids, like, we'd have the big party and, get the sheet cake that was like this big, but then, you'd have all this leftover cake. So I was like, what do you do with this cake? So what I would do is the next day I would make birthday cake pancakes. So I'd get the leftover cake, I'd smush it all up, I'd add, eggs and flour and milk and stuff, and it would still have like bright speckles and like, stuff in it. And of course, it'd be super sweet. You wouldn't need any syrup for them, but I would make that my kids always look forward to it. And so like, I posted it on my website just because I was like, well, this is our tradition. I'm going to write about our tradition. So if you like a good recipe for what to do with that leftover birthday cake, go to my website. You can find it there.
That's really cool, Alison. I would have never thought of doing that. There's a lot of birthday cakes that get left behind, right? If the kid doesn't like the cake and the guests don't like the cake. There's a lot of birthday cake left over sometimes. Sometimes there's no cake, and then there's other times there is lots of cake. Yeah, I never thought of that birthday pancakes. Look at it. I'm teaching me how to do stuff. My granddaughter, she'll probably be like, Nanny, yeah, let's do that.
Oh, yeah. And it's fun. And the kids get involved in it because they're like, I'm mushing up the cake. It's like great. They love it. They think it's great.
Well, and you have all the icing and everything. That's what you're saying. We don't need the syrup. Like you have all the toppings and sprinkles and I think that's pretty cool. And chocolate chip cookies, there's a lot of million recipes out there, but is there a special thing you do with your chocolate chip cookies that nobody else does?
I think I add, so every recipe calls for like, I don't know, like a cup or two of, I add more chocolate chips. The chocolate is the best part. I don't know. Exactly. I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit of cookie with this chocolate. So, but it's fun.
And Alison, what message would you like to give to the young writers out there that are looking to start writing? What you could do to encourage them to get started?
I would say, I'll give them advice that I got when I was young, and it can be very helpful, is just start writing, get a journal. Like, again, the problem I think when you're young and starting out writing is confidence, and that will grow as you continue to write. So just write. You can keep it to yourself. You don't have to do anything with it. There was, and I'm trying to remember his name, there's some author who had published like 1 million books, and he was quite famous. And he said, just sit down and write, write 1 million words and then throw them away. And then you're ready to begin. So I feel like that is great advice because you're learning your voice. And that is what makes each author unique, and something, again, to tie it back to the beginning, AI can't take. You have your own unique voice. So figure out what it is, figure out what you want to write. And a lot of it is by writing what you don't want to write.
I love that you said throw it away. Like how, I can't get it if it's thrown away.
But it's useful. It's practice. It's like if you want to become a star athlete, you don't just step out of bed and say, okay, I'm on the Olympic team. You got to figure out how you can get there. And part of that is just writing. So write down about your day, write down about your cat, write down about your dog, write everything, observe, sit somewhere, observe people, write what they're doing, practice, and read a ton.
I love it. And good advice, for all the young listeners out there. They always come at me, Miss Liz, can you get us in there as well? I do not have anybody on Teatime under the age of 18. I've only had one, and he was 12 years old. I'm really guarded with children because there's a lot on the internet,
Oh, yeah.
So, Alison, what final message do you have for everybody out there? And again, get your website out there. And if you could spell it for all the audio listeners.
Definitely. I'll start with the website. It's AlisonMcBain.com, and that's Alison with 1 L, ALISON MCBAIN. And my final message is just to stay optimistic. One thing about writing that I mentioned before is there's a lot of rejection in it. So if your goal is publication, you do have to develop that thick skin, but just believe in what you're writing. And part of that is knowing what your voice is, knowing what message you have. So for me, it's about finding and helping others achieve that. And also for myself. So my final message is just believe in yourself, write like no one is looking.
I like that. I like that because, we always look for somebody to validate something, right? And in today's world, just write. Just put it on paper.
Exactly.
Just scribble. Put a dot, put a word, then put a dot, then put a word, and then find a missing word. It's almost like hangman, right? Where you put a letter and you kind of put into the sentence. So kind of just write it and just be sloppy. That's what I tell my children is just be sloppy. Just get it out. Just release.
Well, no first draft is perfect. It never is. It doesn't matter if you're Stephen King. It's not going to be perfect the first time around.
Right. And that's why we have editors like Alison that you can reach out to and check out your website and, get your edit done. Like send a rough draft and then she can correct and tell you. And I want to get that out before we wrap up, Alison. We are at the 1 hour, but I want to get that out there for editing. People can reach out to you on your website, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. My email address is there. Just reach out and drop me a line.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you. And I'm just going to do a closing summary and then we're going to wrap it up. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. with another tea. And we'll go down some more rabbit holes with the next guest. Today's Tea Time with Alison McBain reminded us that creativity isn't competition with technology. It's a reflection of our hearts, our memories, and our shared humanity. Through her words, Alison showed us that storytelling is more than content. It's connection. A way of reaching across time and screens to say, I see you. As we close this tea time, may we each protect the spark of imagination that lives within us and keep writing our truths, one story, one cup, and one heartbeat at a time. Thank you guys, and I'll see you at 7 p.m. and we'll do this all over again.